I'm not a ranger yet, but I will be in the future.
Once a ranger,
Always a ranger.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Once a Ranger. I'm Minhas, and I'm joined by Akil and Nub. And this week, we're going to be talking about Lions and Blizzards, Crystal of Nightmares, and To Flee or Not to Flee. 3 filler episodes. I guess we can't really call them filler episodes. All the episodes are filler. 3 structural episodes. Starting with Lions and Blizzards. Let's get into it. Akil, how do you feel about this episode?
Lions and Blizzards. It was another Angela episode. I love the Angela episodes. I love Zach to get his girl. Didn't really work out too well again this time. The monster in this didn't make any sense. The monster in this one was mostly lion, partially goat, but it was transformed from a lion trophy that the Power Rangers were trying to win against Bulk and Skull and Angela and the other unnamed characters.
Yeah, it makes you wonder where the goat came from.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Where is this goat sign in this lion statue?
So I have some headcanon around this, in that because Rita wanted to turn the lion trophy into Gotan. So I'm thinking like lion from the trophy, but when you win a trophy, you are the goat. So she combined the lion and the goat and made Gotan.
Oh my god.
But why Gotan controls the weather, I'm lost. My headcanon doesn't cover
because
that.
He's the goat.
Because he's the goat. And the goat can make blizzards and hurricanes, I guess.
Power Rangers is always way ahead of its time.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Goats can make, blizzards and hurricanes. Yeah, this monster fight was definitely out of the blue, but has more tangibility than some of the other monsters we've had. There's at least one connection to the story, which is a lion. Is it a good connection? No. Arguable, but it is a connection that is there.
Yeah.
So the one thing that in rewatching, because I watched it a couple of times, and I noticed that the trophy is called the Noble Lion Trophy, right? And I always am trying to find what the connection is with the monster and the lesson or message that the show is trying to put out with the kids and their ventures. So this is me just totally making it up, clearly, but Zach was left with the question of should he stick to his date or should he fulfill his responsibility. It's a classic Spider-Man situation, and he was noble and he went and helped his friends, and then the same thing happens to Zach that happens to Peter. They get mad at him and he has to deal with it. So, but nobility, that was the takeaway in my mind. I wish they emphasized that, because then I would actually say, hey, that was the message. But that's my headcanon.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one. I think it makes sense. Nobility. What they tried to emphasize in this one, instead of nobility, was teamwork.
True.
Despite the other team having the same amount of teamwork. Teamwork wins again, says Billy. The other team showing no indication of fighting with each other or interfighting.
Yeah. Even when Zach tried to tear that team apart by taking Angela, they stuck together.
They did stick together.
I would argue that they're a better team.
They had no adversary. They stuck together in the end. Which is so funny. And then talking about the little triathlon they're having in the beginning. So let's talk about Bulk and Skull, which we always gotta talk about Bulk and Skull, right?
Yeah.
Bulk in previous episodes was a weight champion. So we know he's not like incompetent, right? Even though up until this, like, they always try to make us think that he's incompetent. But even here, he's like neck and neck with Jason to begin with, right? He's keeping up with Jason even up until the point where Skull joins the race, right? So I feel like, they don't get enough credit with what everyone just like laughs. I know I say this every single episode. You're going to be like, Minhas is going to be like, everyone is unfair to Bulk and Skull, blah, 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 blah. There's a Minhas tirade.
A compilation at the end of the season. Just every time Minhas defends Bulk.
The Bulk and Skull. And then You're gonna like in 2 episodes from now, you're gonna hear me talk about it again because even in the next episode, actually.
Mm.
It's every
Yeah.
episode.
Okay.
It's every
Yeah.
episode.
These episodes were just like mean to Bulk and Skull. Because so at the end, jumping to the end, they just like the police pick him out of a bog or something, and they
Yeah.
take him to for some reason take them to the youth center, not their parents, not like I don't know, to the police station. They take him to the youth center and be like, who knows these guys? And Jason's about to just be like, I don't know.
Which is a crime, Jason, by the
Like,
way.
who are these that I have no idea.
Is that a crime?
Yeah, you're interfering with the police investigation.
Okay. That's a bit of a stretch.
That is the same kind of thread that's holding together just Rita's monster to this plot.
Yeah.
But
They're on
even-
the same
even-
thread, like not even similar. They're the same thread.
yeah. But I just want to expand on something Minha said earlier, because like, yes, before, I think it was even episode 1, like Bulk was second place in the bench press competition.
Mhm.
In this one, Bulk and Skull are tied for first place
Right.
in this whatever activity that they're doing. So they're not like bad at what they're doing. They're always like neck and neck.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think like the Power Rangers creators just wanted them to be the butt of the joke, but like didn't
Mhm.
realize that they're actually competent. Like they made them competent sometimes,
Yeah.
which like, they're good at weights. They're good at like stamina here. They're good at doing their makeup in the next episode, which we could talk about then. Like they have like a wide variety of skills
Yeah.
going on their side. But it's just so like the Bulk and Skull shtick. It's interesting.
Mhm.
I think like they really have gone for it. And I'm not complaining about this at all. I just like don't understand because the Power Rangers and I just like beating a dead horse at this point are supposed to be heroes, right? And they're so mean to Bulk and Skull. And you know what?
Yeah.
They did deserve it at first, and I will never say they don't deserve it at first. But I feel like we're at a point where maybe not so much.
Yeah.
It's like Billy, just like this whole triathlon thing. Again, it seems so out of place with the whole story, but I guess they need a reason to have this like trophy so that Rita can make a monster, right? That in the writer's room was probably what happened. They're like, how do we link this together?
Yeah.
But
I think they
Billy
maxed
goes,
out their karate competitions. So
yeah, we gotta go back to triathlons.
Yeah.
That's so funny that you said that because I didn't even think about that. If Tommy was here, it would be a karate
Yeah,
competition.
Jason could have
for
literally
sure.
just won a competition in the first 2 minutes of the episode and be like,
Yeah.
look at this trophy.
Look at
Yeah.
this trophy.
Also, this trophy was like this big. It was this big. It was in my head I was thinking it'd be this grand trophy, but it was like what I've gotten for like participation trophies. It's
Yeah,
like,
it feels like you could find that at the dollar store trophy.
absolutely.
Mhm.
But that's okay. It's just like so funny how big of a deal they made it when it got stolen, which they immediately blame Bulk and Skull.
They did.
Um,
And they were
which
right.
honestly-
Would have been mean if Bulk and Skull
didn't actually
Yeah.
get kicked. Yeah, I'm like, you know what? I'm not even too upset about this because at this point, there's only 2 people who could do it: Rita
Yeah.
and Bulk and Skull, right?
Yeah.
So like, all right, I'll give you that, Power Rangers. You win this round.
Yeah.
But like, why did they take it? Like, it's so funny because I'm not saying it doesn't make sense. It makes sense for them. It's so on par for them to take this thing that has like real no value or use to them because it's only valuable if you win it. Because the trophy itself is kind of dinky, as you said, Nev.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. They just they're pranksters really at this point.
Yeah.
They're not even bullies as much. I do agree with that for the most part. I think sometimes it really just depends on what the writers want the plot to be, which is the same thing for their like competency, right? So like either they're inflexible and can't do kicks and stuff. Well, Bulk mostly is just like, or he has like a bench press record, or they're like tied in this triathlon or whatever they're doing. So it's like it's never well, they do both. Actually, the writers do both. They make them both competent, but like ultimately clowns. It's very interesting how they navigate that.
Yeah. And I feel like this is for this episode and previous episodes, but not the next one, in that none of the other students or youth matter. So for Bulk and Skull, they have to be the worst at it, but they also have to compete with the Power Rangers because there's no one in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good way
Nobody
to
else
put it.
exists
Yeah, except Angela today.
except for Angela.
Angela exists.
And
So
she's on Bulk and Skull's team, so it kind of also doesn't count.
yeah. Well, the triathlon. So Zach goes to Angela and was like, "Do you want to join our team?" And she says no. And then Bulk and Skull do their little like, "Yeah, whatever. We're real men, you know."
Mhm.
And then the principal, for some reason, decides to like go to Bulk and Skull's side for no other reason than the writers want the principals to take a nosedive. Right?
It's because he knows a real man when he sees him.
What was the principal? That's so funny. What was the principal even doing there? Like, was he like looking to see if they're cheating? Like, I don't know. I saw him like the first time I watched it, I saw him go there, and I was like, why is he doing that? And then when he face dived, I'm like, oh, okay, like literally he's doing that just for the purpose of like face diving into this.
Basically.
Yeah. But then going
Same thread, same weak thread of logic, you know,
Yeah.
it's all connected with this one thread of logic for everything. It's super thin, doesn't make much sense, but we forgive it and just
Yeah.
because of the end result or whatever, I don't know.
yeah,
Like,
speaking of sorry, go ahead.
well, because even in line with that, the way they wrote Angela was very confusing. Like,
Mhm.
okay, so she's not interested in Zach, but then she just asks Zach out of nowhere. Then he's like trying to like cozy up to her, and she's like, "No, thank you." I'm just like, okay, do you like him or do you not like him?
Yeah.
I'm so confused.
And then she cozied up to him, and then his popcorn alarm went off, and then she hated him again.
I would understand the after the popcorn alarm hating him part. Like that part made sense, but
Mhm.
everything before then, like I really didn't understand her motivations, kind of like what you said.
Yeah.
And it's always so funny because like Zach goes, I gave up on her a long time ago. Like, you mean this morning when you were not giving up on her?
Yeah. You know,
When you
teenage at that
Yeah.
age, like forever ago is 3 hours or whatever.
Yeah, forever ago is like yesterday. Oh yeah, 3 hours literally. That's so funny. But yeah, Angela, she kind of just really, I don't know what she. It was like this whole episode was kind of like just trying to like, how do we get to the end of this episode? It felt like.
Accurate.
So it was like,
Yeah.
that's but like the most we can say about it.
Honestly, I think that's the mentality for, especially since the supposed or what was intended to be the season finale. So now you have these like 20 episodes that are just, so it's like, okay, how do we, you know, the plot is going to be as flimsy as possible. It just has to be enough to like get to them fighting the monster, defeating them, the gag at the end with Bulk and Skull, because those are the things that matter, right? Getting the Rangers to fight, to morph, grow the Zord, because it's a toy commercial, right? So, and the gag at the end, like that's all that matters. Everything before it is like, there's a trophy. The monster is from the trophy. Angela, Zach is on a date finally, even though Angela doesn't like him, but she does. It doesn't matter. They're just like ideas. Okay, we got the fight. Now the kids can like enjoy the fight, and then they laugh at the end. Like that's, I think that's the mentality.
Yeah, it's funny, which is kind of like why we love this show. But when you look at the later seasons, it's definitely more streamlined, right? I mean, like at this point of the show, they're still kind of like trying to figure out what it is and stuff.
Right.
But speaking of the fights, this had a really funny fight. For some reason, the guy controls the weather. That means he plays hockey.
Yes. We all know that.
It's a Mr. Canadian goat lion man.
Well, I mean, we don't find goat lions here in America, so I assume that's also why.
Oh, you don't have lion goats in America?
No, sorry.
Oh, weird. Must be a Canadian thing.
you gotta be careful. The goat lions are just out there.
Yeah. The North American goat lions. Ooh.
Yeah.
North
they bring the blizzards.
Yeah. Them and the moose.
This really is a Canadian coded monster, isn't it?
Yeah.
Cold weather, hockey stick, you know, like That's
Yeah.
if that doesn't say Canada, I don't know what does.
That's all we are known for.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Cold weather and hockey. That's all we have. But I love this fight too because like beyond the hockey stick stuff, which is so funny to me. Like I love that part of the fight. I loved that the Megazord was like covered in snow and the way the Megazord kind of just looked like a Lego but covered in snow. I loved that. There should be a toy of that. I don't think there is, but I'm like I want this toy where it's just like the Megazord covered in snow and then they flip it around and the snow comes off. Visually, this was a very good fight scene. Like I like this fight scene a lot.
But I was confused. Like if you're frozen, how are you able to generate like how are they able to get the Zord to spin in the first place if it's frozen, you know? Like,
Well, I see it as like if your body's frozen, you can't move your limbs and stuff, but you can kind of have the momentum to like spin. Like if you're tied up.
and then there's a
Kinda similar
machine,
to
so
that.
the gears
Yeah.
aren't maybe the gears aren't frozen internally, so you
Yeah.
know. Okay. It was just like we're frozen. Okay, so spin it. I was like, those sentences don't make sense.
Yeah, no. I totally get where you're coming from, but in my head, I kind of like was
Yeah.
like, no, this makes sense.
Right.
Or
Or
for
maybe
sure.
just like the ground was ice, so it didn't take a lot of
Yeah,
True.
momentum.
effort to spin.
Yeah, it would have been funny. I mean, there's not a lot of time if they just kind of like moved their bodies to the side and it created like this like force.
Yeah.
And Billy said some weird like scientific line about how that would work. I think that would be on par for this episode.
Yeah. Fair enough.
When I was a child, this episode. Okay, so this is the first time when me and my siblings were watching. This is the first time we ever noticed that Zach had a missing finger. And it's not really a note to anything. The actor talks about it. Walter Jones talks about it in interviews a lot. But as a kid, I remember like for a second being like, oh, wait, what's going on? And we couldn't rewind it at the time. And we're like, maybe it was like a trick of the eye. And I'm bringing this up because of a funny story that Walter Jones told in an interview about his missing finger. And there was an episode where there were mannequins and he took a finger off the mannequin and like put it on his hand and he was just like doing the episode. And the director called cut, came up to him and just like yoinked the fake finger off his hand. And he's really fond of that story. And yeah, so it confirmed my like childhood like flash of like what was that for a second. Just like a fun little tidbit for most of the people listening are pretty have like a long-term interest in Power Rangers, so they probably already know this information. But if you're like Akil, you're hearing this stuff for the first time.
Yeah, this is the first time I'm hearing about it. For you watching at home, I looked down because I was actually looking up because I didn't notice that he was missing a finger, so I actually looked it up.
I actually didn't know that. Like,
okay, cool.
And I met the man, and I never noticed. I met him at a Comic-Con, but I genuinely did not know that he was missing a finger. So you've taught me something new.
That's so funny because he does talk about it. Yeah, maybe he doesn't talk about it all the time, but
yeah, I mean it's like it was a quick meet and greet type thing. So he's not gonna be like, "Oh, by the way."
By the way, yeah, doesn't say it on.
Let me give you a high 4 with my left hand.
Oh my god. But yeah, he talks about it all the time. Like in the interview, he was kind of just like he even showed everybody. He doesn't seem to.
Yeah.
It's like how Hrithik Roshan kind of talks about his stuff as well, right? It's like kind of on the same vein.
Right. Yeah.
Last note. That's a reference we all understand.
Everyone here understands.
I was gonna be like, Akil, did you not understand it? I was like, are you learning another new thing?
Everyone in this
Hrithik Roshan's missing a finger? You mean he has 5 fingers?
Stop! No! Oh my god.
That's funny. No. I will say my last note, for as much as, because I am the Bulk and Skull critic of the group.
Yes, we're the opposite.
But I will say there's at the end scene where they are like the police officer is, asking if everybody knows them, and the Rangers jokingly go no, but then Bulk and Skull, they say, "Come on, we're your friends." I think that's the first time they've ever made such a statement and like actually showed like a mutual sort of like appreciation or like any sort of appreciation for them, because typically we're just hearing them calling them dweebs, dorks, geeks, so it's like maybe it's a term of endearment for them, but like this is the first time they were like, hey guys, we're friends. Like, maybe they say it just to get out of their situation, but I think they genuinely meant it. And so there's this shift.
Sorry. Yeah, it like really is like, because me and Nev talk about this all the time, and Akko, you'll see in the future, they do like end up being an integral part of the group, despite like not being Power Rangers, right? So I think it's funny to see the kind of slow process into that. And you're right, this is like kind of one of the first times being like, hey, buddy, old pal, it's us.
Yeah.
It's us, the bulkers and the scullers. But yeah, I think that definitely is an interesting note. The setups for like the bulk and skull little like when they're gonna have something dropped on them, it's always like I'm gonna start paying attention to it because I did notice it in this episode where Ernie's like, "Do you like my plant?" And then and then that's what falls. The water falls on Bulk and Skull, and I didn't notice that the first time I watched it. I watched this a couple times too, and then the second time I'm like, "Why is Ernie talking about this like one plant randomly?" It's so random, so out of the blue. But then it was like, oh, okay, it had a purpose. What's that law where it's like if you see a gun on the table in a later scene, it's gonna be shot. It's like that was what was happening there.
I was literally about to say, I love how they do Chekhov's gun, but it's like 2 seconds after the thing. So it's like they show this thing, Bulk and Skull walk in, and then boom. Like usually it's like, oh, it's saved for like the in the typical stories, it's like it's set up for later. But this is like, here's the thing, and then it fires right away. The gun is fired right away.
Yeah, it's so funny. Actually, that's like a funny like little trope that I love trying to point out when we're watching movies. And instead of like saying, "Oh, that is gonna be an example," I just go, "That's a gun." Just like, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. If not, then not. But yeah, they have to like with Power Rangers. They never do the long game with those kind of things.
In the time capsule episode, they had a Chekhov's bulk witch,
Yes,
where they had the gag of them making it, and then at the end of the episode, that's when it fell on them.
That's true.
Yeah,
I'm sure they had some, but for the most part, it's a very quick, like you're right in the moment. But I'm sure I know they've had a couple here and there throughout the 40 something episodes.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a wiki about it somewhere.
Yeah. All of Chekhov's guns in Power Rangers for 30 years. For 30 years. All right, moving on to Crystal of Nightmares. This episode, I have a big gripes on how Bulk and Skull were treated. Big gripes, especially with the schooling system, which we can all talk about our schooling systems because there is probably a stark difference between the Canadian and American schooling system. And that might be what the disparity I'm having here. And Nev, you can kind of
what's your
put
gripe?
in your 2 cents. Do you take students to the front of the class and be like, you got an F and you're going to be in detention forever? Or do your teachers give you your test upside down so no one can see how you did? Why did they do that?
It's not universal. There's no universal approach to it. So I have seen both, not to the extent of the first one. I shouldn't say I've ever seen like someone get absolutely lambasted by the teacher in front of their classroom for a bad grade, but not all teachers are like, protective about, what's the right word? Like not all teachers try to like keep it, on the just between them and the student. Some do. Some will be like, hey, come see, like they'll just say, come see me after class. And sometimes they do it where they just like go up to the student individually, like everybody's doing like a project or whatever. There's like, just studying or doing questions, and they'll just come up to the student very like casually and just like, hey, I'd just like to see you after class kind of thing. I've seen teachers do that. I've also seen teachers who like will maybe not highlight the lowest grades, but they highlight the best grades. And I see how that could also be a problem. Like, hey, these people got 100, and I feel like that's kind of, but yeah, some will be like, you didn't do well, you need to come to extra help, so it's not,
you make them go to the front of the class.
No, not like not in the front.
Publicly shame them.
No, they're not like they're like, no, it's not like front of the class, but they will like while they're handing back the test, just
and then everyone laugh at them.
Yeah, no, nothing that extreme. I've never seen that. Maybe there are teachers who have done that.
I have.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
In Canada or in America? Because I know you've been both.
I did all my schooling in America, so I saw this in
Okay.
America. But I had teachers who would hand out the tests worst grade to best grade
Oh
or
my God.
best grade to worst grade.
Oh my God.
I had a teacher that would like if somebody did really, really bad on an essay, they'd turn it into a transparency and show it to the entire class. They'd like block out the name, but then you'd see the kid like sink down in the seat or like try to hide their face so you know it was theirs.
Yeah, why would you? Wow.
Man, I just don't see the point in shaming children like that. Like, I'm not gonna
Mhm.
say the Canadian education system is like so good, right? Like, I'm not saying that at all. Like, we definitely have our flaws. I just like don't understand. I just can't even imagine that happening here, first of all. But like, I don't understand what's the point? What's the point of bringing these students to the front of the class, publicly shaming them, have everyone like laugh at them, then also give them detention? Like, I've never heard of.
For the
Again,
camera
this might.
angle.
Sorry.
For the camera angle. I'm
Yeah.
making a joke. For the show, it's just so they have a good camera angle.
Yeah, so that they can use one camera instead of two.
Two. Oh, yes, yes, yes.
It's
Fair enough. I was so confused for
Yeah.
a second. I'm like,
yeah,
what
it's
are you
just
talking
like,
about?
so it's a good angle. It's a wide shot on every, it's just.
Yeah.
But no,
I mean,
no,
fair enough.
there's no actual like sane, humane, good reason to do such a thing.
Other than,
Oh,
again, Chekhov's gun, so we can have the gag of the toupee. All of that, all of that, so we can see the gag of Bulk sneezing and the toupee falling off the principal, which, by the way, he deserved.
Why are at least in the 90s, especially, I feel like toupee jokes were like a really, or like ball, I guess it's ball jokes more so. Like those, I felt like those were common gags, not just in Power Rangers, but like in other shows. I just feel like that was a common thing. For
it was a
long
very
time.
common gag. I feel like the 90s were very known for their fat jokes and toupee jokes. And
That's
like,
fair.
it just kind of was their thing. Where honestly, like, and nowadays it's kind of just like, we don't care about that. People wear wigs all the time, and
Right.
like, or and like,
Yeah.
like, but
I see a lot of toupee videos on TikTok of like the really fancy ones, like people getting fitted for toupees.
yeah,
And,
and
like,
they
the
look
whole
really
process.
good too,
What
right?
What are
Nuv
really
looks confused. Have you
fancy
not seen those?
No.
Yeah, so the ones that they like have them hairstyle to like your
Mhm.
particular like hair and stuff, like it's really really good. Like I'll see if
Yeah.
I'll send if I find any, I'll send you some. Like the toupee
Sure.
game is like it's like up there now. Like it's serious.
Yeah.
They look pretty good. It like
Those are
oosh.
not flying off with a sneeze.
No, they're definitely not. They're like
Also-
glued.
Are toupees just because, like the word toupee, is that just because men don't want to say they have a wig? Like, isn't it the same thing? Like, or is it different?
I think it just
No.
means like half the way because it's
Yeah.
not. It's like
Toupee's
I think
just the top part.
Oh,
and
okay.
those wigs
Ah,
like the
no.
whole thing.
right. It's like Topi, but not.
Sure. Sure. Oh, goodness.
That's the second one. Second South Asian joke. Just,
Yeah. I was just like, yeah. Anyway.
but okay, going back to the episode. So this is actually a really good episode, I think. The execution isn't like great, but like in theory, this episode's really, really good. In terms of making the Power Rangers lose their self-esteem. I feel like this could have been a big episode, but
Yeah. And when it's happened before, it was a big episode. Like Islands of Illusion
Yeah.
did something similar.
Yeah, so it's a bit strange that that it just ended without them really overcoming their insecurities, other than Jason, who is a killer Red Ranger. Like we already know that. He's so terrified, and he's like, "All right," and he like does this like run into the cave. He's like, "Boop, boop, 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 boop."
Yeah.
And then he fights Goldar, who, by the way, was who he lost to in his nightmare.
Yeah.
It is like literally a direct mirror to his the lead of his insecurity, and still
Right.
managed to overcome it. So there we have that, like we have that full circle with Jason, which is great and amazing. But then with everyone else, it's just kind of like the spell is broken. You have your you have your self-esteem back or whatever.
Yeah.
But the spell wasn't what made them lose their self-esteem.
Mhm.
It was like the result of seeing these like crazy dreams.
I feel like those dreams were laced with something. and like they had the dreams, but then there was an added like self-esteem debuff to the dreams.
I mean,
I
fair
think
enough.
that's how Rita's magic worked.
I
Right.
mean, that's what I thought. I mean,
Mhm.
so the way now I'm making like thinking of it is it's like Space Jam, right?
Okay.
Where the crystal ball, it basically stole their self confidence. That's why
Oh,
when
that part of Space Jam.
yeah
Okay.
yeah
Okay.
so you
I
know
thought you were talking about a different part of Space
no, in
Jam.
Space Jam they get the basketball. The basketball is what takes the powers from the players.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
then once they're able to get it back, they touch the ball. So it's like the same thing. They broke the crystal, and then they get their like the spell is broken. That's like how
They get their confidence back.
which I don't like. I wish it was more of like, okay, the crystal gives Rita the power to
Yeah.
invade their dreams, which causes them to lose self confidence, and then they should have just had to gain it back from being brave and noble and stuff, in spite of all that fear. But it was just like, nope.
So it was the Monstars side of Space Jam, but you wanted it to be the Toon Squad side of Space Jam.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wanted the secret stuff. He wanted the secret stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
That's so funny, but so accurate. It's true. But other than that, kind of like I'm gonna call it a shortcoming.
Yeah.
I really thoroughly enjoyed the dynamic between the Rangers in this
Yes.
episode. You really get to
Yes.
see the kids being kids.
It almost feels out of character,
Yeah.
because like they're normally like, oh, let's save the rainforest, or let's plant a tree, or
Yeah.
let's you know whatever it is, and now they're just
Yeah.
like, we're gonna study for a test, and we're gonna have some fun in this like lodge that Billy's uncle owns, because all of their relatives are wildly successful in everything they do. Like Kimberly's uncle's a pilot, like Billy's uncle owns this lodge, like all their family's just great, you know.
Yeah.
Very-
Everyone's doing well in the Power universe. Which doesn't always, like, later on that's not a thing. Some of them do not so well.
Yeah.
But currently it's everything's a-okay.
So I think the cool thing, this was something I think I might have looked it up because I thought it felt different. So Goldar, it's actually a new suit for Goldar, and his mouth moves. So this is like the first time it's used actually, which was really cool. It felt more, I don't know if real is the right word or whatever. Like when he was interacting with Jason and like the mouth is properly moving, it just felt. It
Oh yeah,
added
it's
to
like definitely more like interactive, like really bringing you into the world.
it.
Yeah. This, like, we're really starting to see the American suits get into play here, which I think is really neat.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I also love the bulk and skull of it all. Other
Of
than
course.
them getting put up and shamed and stuff, like their plan makes no sense, which again I love. It's like so on par for them, and they like look amazing. They know how to do their makeup, and I said that like earlier in this episode. They got their brows done, like their eyeshadows like on fleek. The pink color that they picked for their outfit, very very good. And it's not uniform, right? They're wearing the uniform that the same person that shows up at the end is wearing. She's not wearing any makeup. That was an active decision on Bulk and Skull's part, and they were killing it.
The whole thing was an active decision on their part, because for their original plan, they also didn't need to wear the dress.
That's true. They could have just snuck in. But it was so good. The Bulk and Skull in this episode, like on their individual stuff, like in their active choices, were so good because their dreams as well, where they're like, it's morphing time with their like food, and then
Burgerzord,
Burgerzord,
Dogzord.
which is funny because how do they know it's morphing time, and how do they know to do that, right? And my headcanon was either they hear it's morphing time all the time because Rangers are not subtle. But then there was like, how does that visual happen? I think that the crystal kind of there was an overlay of knowledge that seeped in. Is the only explanation that I could think of otherwise.
No, because they had the day where everybody got to meet the Power Rangers. They could have showed it there. They could have.
That this is how we morph. We say it's morphing time.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like a thing for the audience, right? So it's just like, oh
That's
yeah, we
true.
have these morphers, and we go, it's morphing time, you know? And like, they didn't show us what they actually talk about with the Rangers there. So
That's true.
They could have informed
Rangers
them that
didn't
way.
talk about anything. They just said hi to Tommy. That's
Yeah.
it.
Ignored everybody and said hi to Tommy.
Yeah. But also, like, at least in the detention episode, we know that the Rangers were right next to Bulk and Skull when they morphed.
Mhm.
So there's got to be countless times where Bulk and Skull have been nearby, and they've heard it's morphin time. Maybe they've even seen them morph. Who knows?
Yeah,
It's possible. Yeah.
it's possible.
Yeah.
They just say it doesn't register, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely think everyone has heard it's morphing time once in a while. They've heard do 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 do, and they've heard
The
it's
popcorn
morphing
alarm. Yeah.
time. Yeah, like sorry?
The popcorn alarm.
The popcorn alarm. Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like,
Everybody
Zach
has
needs
one.
popcorn like so much.
That he had to get an alarm for it, and he apparently
Alarm.
forgets that his popcorn is
forgets.
like ready, I guess.
And she hears because she's like around, right? She's not just like shows up when Zach
No.
needs to have a story, right? Like she
Yeah.
exists in this world. She probably hears it a lot. She would like later after this episode too, like she'll hear it and then
Mhm.
be like, oh, that popcorn alarm.
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
probably just like, dude, why are you so obsessed with popcorn?
Yeah.
He's popping, he's locking, he's popcorning.
Yeah.
I want popcorn now.
I
Yeah,
do too.
I did like the concept of this episode. Like you said, I think the execution could have like been a bit better, but
Yeah.
it was like just I liked the idea. It wasn't just a monster. Like she didn't be like, oh, we're gonna take their study papers and turn it into a monster. You know?
Yeah. That's so funny. It's true.
We're like, oh,
And
they're
it's
in
just
a
like
cabin in the
giant
woods.
Fs.
Let's give him Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. Like make a tree monster. Like no, she was
That's
just
so
like
funny.
and Goldar came up with a plan because
Yeah.
Rita
There's
wasn't
no
for it.
monster. Sorry?
Because Rita wasn't for it. Like Goldar
No, she's
was
like, why
Yeah.
would I care about that? It was the best reaction. Why would I care about that? He's like, because. And she's like,
Yeah.
okay.
But also, she's been psychologically torturing them this whole time. So if anything, she would care about that.
All right, but it's because it's Goldar's idea. I'm on
Yeah.
Rita's side here. Why would I care about that?
Yeah.
Goldar, who always flees from a fight, and he does this again too, right? In
Yeah.
this fight, he
Yeah. He
just
does.
leaves. And the Megazord looked so fed up with it at this point. They did this like zoom in where it's just like the Megazord's face, like right after Goldar leaves. And he just like, there's no emotion, but I felt that emotion. Just like when they do the power sword swipe and they dip, it's just straight zoom into the Megazord.
Yeah.
Just like, staring. Me too, Megazord. Me too.
Yeah, I mean, credit to Goldar. He never gets destroyed by the Rangers, so
It's true. He knows when to call it quits.
he's
Yeah.
a survivalist.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That is true. Moving on to flee or not to flee. Ernie is going out of business.
I
And we
don't know
talked about
why.
this
I have
in-
no idea why.
Talked about this in previous episodes. Yeah, we don't know, but we have talked about it in previous episodes. Like, how is he still in business? And we know now he is not. There were ramifications. But this episode has Jason, like, everyone's stressed about Ernie. They're trying to get donations, which, you know, it's so funny, right? Just buy food. I don't know,
Yeah.
like,
Yeah, just
Yeah,
tell people to
'cause-
order more things.
yeah, go to
Yeah.
the business and
And
actually
stop giving people things for free.
yeah, like actually do it as a business. I mean, it's nice. Like your hearts are in the right place. Like, you know what,
Yeah.
kids, I love you and you're trying really, really hard and we appreciate that. But that's not a sustainable business model for Ernie
Yeah.
to stay in business,
Or
right?
even like charge the school district for all the events that they have there.
All right.
I don't get how these kids have time for life because it seems like anytime someone's in trouble, they are helping them, and it's just like, do they stop for every person that's in trouble? Like, because then their day must be filled, right? Like,
Wait,
they're-
are you talking about the dog?
No,
Oh,
in general though,
In
like,
general, but yes,
Yeah.
the dog in this
yeah,
episode,
the dog,
dude.
but then they're also trying to help Ernie. Like, they're just at the youth
Yeah.
center just trying to fundraise for Ernie.
Yeah,
when they probably
and
have homework.
they teach students karate,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
like Billy does a Big Brother thingy.
the
And-
youth center thing made sense to me because they're there all the time anyway.
I know, but I'm just saying it adds to the fact that it seems like literally any opportunity to help, which I'm not saying is bad. That's a really great moral compass. But I'm
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
like,
We're cheering you on, Rangers.
how do you have time to live your life if like every time there's something, like a little girl could have been like, oh, my balloon, and they're like, oh, we'll go find your balloon. It's probably in outer space, but we'll go find it. Like that's what I feel like they
But,
would do.
We'll call the Lost Galaxy Rangers. Don't worry, we
But
got this.
what else would they do? Like aside from school, which is stupidly easy for some reason, their hobby is going around helping people.
I know,
Right, but they
That's
also
what they
they
do.
also work out. And as someone
Yeah.
who tries
Jason also works
but
out,
doesn't,
yes.
it fails and tries working out on a schedule. It's very difficult. It takes a lot of time.
Have you
Um,
tried saving the world once a week? That might help.
That might help.
They also
Just
teach
like-
class on top of their own workouts. They also teach class on things.
They
Yeah.
teach class. Like I said, Billy does a Big Brother program. Like they're and then Billy's also doing his science experiments on the side.
Mhm.
They all have like their special interests, right?
Yeah.
But on top
Kimberly
of that,
has shopping.
yeah.
Kimberly
Oh my
has
God, I
gymnastics.
didn't mention in the last episode when they're gonna go get food.
Mhm.
Kimberly wants a salad, Jason wants a burger, and Trini wants Chinese food. I just had to make a note of that. I was like, all right, let's put in the little stereotypical list here. But like, yeah.
Is a salad really? No.
It's like
For
the
Kimberly, yeah.
prep, the jock,
Okay.
POC, right?
Yeah. Okay, fair
That's what
enough.
that, yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah.
fair enough. Yeah, I guess it's
Yeah.
not. It's not. Okay. Yeah.
But you know, everyone who's listening to this before, you're like, why are you freaking out about that? I'm not freaking out about that. I just noted it. Okay.
Mhm.
Like it's something I noticed.
But I want so the scene that stands out to me in this is literally in the beginning. So everybody's talking about Ernie and everybody's worried.
Mm.
And Jason walks in and he's like, "Hey, how's everything going with Ernie?" He just has a dog in his arms.
Yeah.
And no, like, "Hey, I have a dog in my arms." He's just like, "What's up with Ernie?" And then Zach has to be like, "What's up with the dog?" Like, it's just such a funny execution.
That is
It's
so
just-
funny.
It's just it is. It's like it's not a small dog, so she's just both his arms like this, like holding it up, and he's just like,
Mhm.
"So what's up with Ernie?" And just
Yeah.
He
like
just
he
like
doesn't have
wants
a
people
dog.
to ask him. It's so funny. No, this is my
he's
normal
like,
life.
"Please
I show up.
don't ask me about this big creature in my arms. I'll just continue on."
Oh, this thing, it just followed me for a while. I don't know.
I don't know.
Literally, what he said.
Jason's so funny.
It just followed me. It looked kind of lost because it followed me. Well, okay, good deduction, Jason.
I know, right? It looked lost. I didn't have a collar or anything, so it's not too bad that he just took this dog.
Yeah,
It's not too yeah, he's like, this is my dog now. Um
yeah. Probably
But-
this rich woman can't buy a dang collar for her dog.
I know.
No,
Or
she's spending
is
all
it-
her
is the
money
dog
bailing
chipped?
out youth
Did they have chipping in the
centers.
90s? I don't know. Sorry, what'd you say, Akko?
I said she was spending all her money bailing out youth centers that she can't afford a collar.
How much money was the reward for this dog?
I was
that-
wondering that too. I was like, dude, okay, first of all, how bad is your business when like kids are constantly we can get to that in a second, but then on top of that, like why'd she pay you so much for it? Could have been like it had to be over 10K easy.
Mhm.
Right.
Right, and like, how special is this dog that you didn't get a collar for, that you give that much money for?
I mean, the collar could have fallen off or something, right?
Yes, it could.
but-
Could have been an indoor dog too.
Could have been an indoor dog.
So how to get it?
I just so like I understand, but I gotta give her some like some little leeway there. But yeah, like at least 10K. Like how much debt did he have that he was like literally,
Mhm.
so stressed out about that
He doesn't have a line of credit. He buys everything cash. So he just needed a float.
right. My gosh. And then he immediately gives away free pizza after.
Yeah, bad idea, Ernie.
Pizza and sodas on the house. All right, maybe this is why you're not doing well,
Yeah.
buddy.
Man, if that lady heard that, ooh.
I was
Well,
Well-
she just walks back in, takes the check back. Screw you, buddy.
At least it's for the dog and not for the business. Like if she came in
Mm.
for a business bailout, and I would be pretty upset. But that's so funny. I mean, like to be fair, if it's only for them, those kids, like they gave up that money for Ernie, right? Because
Mhm.
technically Jason did find the dog.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there, Jason.
Absolutely.
Speaking of, when he gets this like itchy flea thing on him, and
Fleas.
okay, you know how I love Yeah, fleas, actual fleas. See, but it's not because it's contagious itch. It's not like
Superpowered.
a flea. It's like a contagious itch
Yeah, it's
thing.
fleas plural.
Okay, they're like mutating fleas.
They're roided fleas.
Please, fine.
Performance
I'll give you
enhancing
that.
Go
fleas.
ahead.
You're funny.
To quote Alpha, he gets a heavy duty rash, dude.
Which aren't fleas. It's a rash. Okay.
Okay, whatever.
It's a contagious rash flea thingy.
Yeah.
Semantics. I don't actually care that much. But what I love, and I said this a million times, I love unnecessary flips. They are the bread and butter of Power Rangers. And Jason, so itchy, is flipping around, scratching himself when he's morphed. I don't know if you guys noticed this. He's like, so itchy. Then he's like flipping and scratching himself. My favorite thing. And biological warfare doesn't work because the putties, taste of own medicine, Rita, your contagious fleas have backfired on you.
Mm-hmm. They didn't backfire on Kimberly, but they backfired on the putties.
Yeah, I know. Kimberly touched Jason without being affected for some reason.
Yeah. I was also confused why her plan was to only infect one of them.
It wasn't. So Finster was like, I'm going to affect one of them. And Rita's like, well, what about the others? And then he's like, I'll just make you contagious.
Right, but like, why couldn't they directly infect all of them? Like, you know, like...
Oh, I have no idea.
It's just like, they're like, oh, I have to put it on the dog. Why can't you just, like, blast them with it? You're just, like, I'm just... The logistics of her magic are, you know, or like the restraints of it, or the constraints of it, are a little confusing to me here. I was just like,
yeah,
why couldn't you give the monster the ability to give, you know, like, and also it was just like ultimately a nuisance. Like Jason's just
Yeah.
itching. It's not like they completely hindered them from battle or something. So I don't know.
I don't know. I would
one of the
rip
weirder
off my
plans.
skin if I couldn't stop itching. Like,
Mhm.
it could be pretty debilitating after an extended period.
Well,
Obviously not.
you're
like
a regular human being, not the Power
Oh.
Rangers.
a regular human
As
being.
far as you know.
Yeah, you're
Yeah, I
not.
know, you
None
don't
of us are the
know.
Power Rangers. They clearly are immune or like can have more tolerance and endurance and durability to
They
everything.
do. Yeah, it's true. They don't get
and
winded.
so do Bulk and Skull. They also have a lot of endurance for this itching.
This is true.
Oh my god, don't get me started on. Okay, this is 3 episodes in a row. Guys. Okay. Falcon Skull. Billy is mean.
Yes.
Billy is mean. Okay, he has a antidote that works instantaneously. And he knew this was happening too. He had those collars ready.
He did.
He just had them. He's like, I know.
He had to did he have collars of 2 different sizes at home? Did he have to go and buy them?
Yeah, he just had like human-sized collars, like,
Mhm.
and carrying them around his pocket. Antidote already in them.
Mhm.
Yeah, I thought he would have maybe had one for like the dog itself but they gave away the dog. I don't know, so I don't.
Yeah.
But maybe they put
And
the collar on
he
the
had
dog
2.
because like the dog, I think did have the. I mean, the dog wasn't
Yeah.
itching, but that was the source, right? So maybe they thought, oh, we put it on the dog. So I'd understand if he had one. I would have been like, okay, you have one. That's fair enough. But he had 2 extras for some reason,
Yeah.
and just had
That's
them.
suspicious.
One
Even
and
though
one
they didn't
backup
know,
one.
they didn't know that they had
Yeah.
the issue because when they came in, they're like, "Oh, what's up with them?" And it's like, "Oh, so I guess
Yeah.
they didn't know they were infected." So I don't know how this all happened. It's very weird.
Do you know what? Like, I don't know. It is really weird. Maybe he bought the collars for the dog, like you said, right? Like sometimes you buy things in bulk or whatever, right? And then he saw like this could happen. This is like all made up, okay?
Mhm.
He saw them and then he's like seeing them itching there. He's like, oh, okay, he has the antidote still in his pocket. He sprays the collars with the antidote, knowing they're instantaneously healing. He still tells them to wear it for a week,
Mhm.
which is still mean.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
solid gag.
Yeah.
It is a pretty good gag. I'd probably do that too.
I mean, fair enough. So funny. I love the way that like the scratches, the way that, like Bulk was Skull was scratching like this, like they were doing like the animal scritchies, which I thought that was fun.
Yeah.
Oh, and also, so the Megazord this is like completely off topic. I just saw it, like the notes came in my eye. The Megazord did a pew pew when it was before it was human. It came in like that battle mode, and it shot like his cannons. Like you don't really see that.
Yeah.
I thought that was neat. Because then it's like that is completely different than individual Zord and regular. It's like that middle one.
Yeah.
No, I didn't know they could pew pew, even though it looked like it can.
Yeah.
And then they actually did it.
Yeah.
Have they done it before?
Yeah. They've definitely done it before. It's happened on rare occasions, but yeah. Probably even the first episode, honestly.
Maybe.
But yeah. Because, or no. Sorry, not the first. Maybe the second or third, because in the first episode they didn't even have the Megazord. But then Zordon was like, no, you can combine your Zords together or something like that. And then, went through the whole process.
I feel like I've seen that
rare.
in one of the long transformation sequences that they just like fire it.
Right.
Then I don't know.
Yeah. I do love, and we don't have to because I didn't care for this monster, but I do love that we just skipped over the monster completely.
But this monster was so adorable.
He was very cute. And this was one of the cuter monsters. I did make a note that he was very hungry when he first got made. And like Rita just has to start feeding her monsters because there's been a couple of monsters now that are like, I want to eat as soon as they're born, which, understandable.
Yeah. I was going to say, I mean, it makes sense, right? They're basically, even though they're like grown size, but they're basically babies. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would get why they'd be starving from birth or from creation.
It's so sad. That's like in the Lord of the Rings movies. The Uruk-hai. Those are children.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, that's what makes Rita so cruel. It's not about what she does to the Rangers. It's her mistreatment of her workers.
Yeah. I mean,
but on the other hand, she's making children to fight children, so it's kind of fair.
That's true.
I mean, yeah. But alive for a day versus alive for 16 years.
That's fair. That's also fair.
I mean, and only some of them are alive for a day. Some of them are ancient, so she kind of is. The ones who are alive for a day are hungry though. Yeah. Definitely. Gotta feed them on. Like the poor guy with the eggs. I'll never forget that egg episode. Just give him eggs. Just give it to him. Oh, speaking of eggs, oh my God. So, okay, this is so off topic, but in the last episode, for one scene, for some reason, Bulk and Skull are sitting under birds, and the birds lay eggs on their heads. And I was like, why did they do that?
Because you can't do a poop joke there. It's a kid show.
It was a weird gag for so out of place for no reason. And that was right before they did, because it seems like you guys don't remember, but
no.
Right before they entered the cabin just as nurses, when they were spying on the cabins, Skull is looking through his binoculars, and Bulk is like, what are you looking at? And he's like, birds, I think those are birds. And then both of them get eggs cracked on their heads. And that is a weird gag.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's not that weird, but it's weird in reference to the episode because it was literally half a second, and there's so much more going on with Bulk and Skull in that episode.
Yeah. They needed to motivate the costume change.
I mean, fair enough. Gotta find a reason for them to switch into their little cleaning outfits.
Yes.
The eggs are always a constant theme in Power Rangers. Always with the eggs. Even in that egg episode, Bulk and Skull were like, let's go get some eggs. Ooh, the eggs.
But in this, the tasty treat was Red Ranger.
Red Ranger Jason. Yeah. They wanted a second bite of that tasty Red Ranger, so he says. Doesn't care for the other Rangers.
Well, no, because they had only been the Red Ranger up to that point. So
and they're not allowed to bite the other Rangers. They have to let the infection do it. You can only bite one Ranger.
I guess so. More rules.
I don't know.
More Rita rules. This week on Rita Rules.
I think this was my least favorite episode of the three.
I liked the second one best, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Me too. Despite the ending.
Despite the ending. Yeah, I had big gripes with the ending. But other than that, it was a really, really fun episode. I love seeing Bulk and Skull fight in the Megazord. And I love seeing the kids be kids and just studying together and having fun together. And you know what? It is a good idea to go to a cabin and study. That's great. That's an amazing idea. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so I guess we can conclude that here. And well, next week we have another filler episodes before we reach the big episode, Return of an Old Friend. Okay, I have to stop calling them filler episodes. We have episodes that aren't huge episodes. They're not like the amazing episodes, but we'll be
they
back.
are filler. I mean, especially at this point in the season, they're all filler.
Yeah, but they're like standard episodes.
They're fun.
They're
fun.
episodes.
They're fun. They're formula episodes.
Yeah.
How about
Formula episodes. Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, I'm Minhas. I'm joined with Nav and Akil. Please join us next time. Until then, stay morphin'.
Once a Ranger,
Always a ranger.